This video is to go over numbers 2 and 3 on test 4 test review. So in number 2, it's asking you to check to see if the function f and the function g are inverses of each other. So it says verify algebraically. So the way we do this is we find the compositions of f of g of x and g of f of x. So for f of g of x, we're going to substitute the rule g into the function f. So we're going to have 5 times the quantity 1/5 x minus 7/5 plus 7. So then we're going to distribute 5. So 5 times a fifth is 1, so we're just going to have x. 5 times negative 7/5 is just negative 7, and then plus 7 on the end. So then negative 7 plus 7 is 0, so we're just left with x. Alright, now we're going to take a look at g of f of x. So we're going to be substituting the function f into the function g. So g is 1/5 x. So instead of x, we're going to put the function f, which is 5x plus 7, and then minus 7/5. Alright, so then we're going to distribute the 1/5. So 1/5 times 5 is just 1. So we're just going to have x. 1/5 times 7 is positive 7/5, and then minus 7/5. So then 7/5 minus 7/5 cancels, and we're just left with x. So both compositions equal x, so that means that they are inverses of each other. So yes, they are inverses because f of g of x equals x and g of f of x equals x. Alright, so now we're going to take a look at number 3. So letter A of number 3. So in number 3, you're asked to find the inverse and to verify graphically when you're done. So we're going to find the inverse algebraically, and then we're going to type the functions into the calculator to see if they are inverses or not. Alright, so step 1, we're going to change h of x to y. So y equals negative 6x plus 5 over 2. Next step, we are going to switch x and y. So x equals negative 6y plus 5 over 2. We're going to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of that division of 2. So we get 2x equals negative 6y plus 5. We're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So we get 2x minus 5 equals negative 6y. Next, we're going to divide both sides by negative 6. So at this step, I'm going to break these two up. So we'll have 2x over negative 6 plus 5 over 6 equals y. So 2 over negative 6 simplifies to negative 1/3. So we're going to have negative 1/3 x plus 5/6 equals y. So then last step, we're going to change y to h inverse of x, because our function is h, so we want the inverse. So negative 1/3 x plus 5/6 equals h inverse of x. So this will be our final answer. So to check in our calculator, we're going to type the original function in y1. So type in negative 6x plus 5, put parentheses around your numerator, divided by 2. So y1 should look like that. Then you're going to type in the inverse function you found in y2. So negative 1/3 x plus 5/6. So then we are going to look at the table. Alright, so your table should look like this. Alright, so if we input 0 into our first function, we're going to get 2.5 out. So now let's look to see what an input of 2.5 gives us in our second function. So go to second table set, 2.5, second graph. So inputting 2.5 gives us 0. So x and y are switched, so the two are inverses of each other. Alright, so now let's look at B. Alright, so we're going to follow the same process we did for A. So we're going to change g of x to y. So y equals negative 3 square root of x minus 8 minus 5. Then we're going to switch x and y. So x equals negative 3 square root of y minus 8 minus 5. So now we're going to solve for y. So we're going to add 5 to both sides. So we get x plus 5 equals negative 3 square root of y minus 8. We are going to divide both sides by negative 3. So then we get x plus 5 over negative 3 equals the square root of y minus 8. We're going to square both sides. So then we get x plus 5 over negative 3 squared is 9 equals y minus 8. Remember, squaring a square root cancels out the square root, so we're just left with the radicand, so we're just left with y minus 8. So then you can double distribute this, so we'll get x squared plus 10x plus 25, because remember, x times x gives us x squared, 5 times x gives us 5x, x times 5 gives us 5x, so 5x plus 5x gives us 10x, and then 5 times 5 gives us 25 over 9 equals y minus 8. So then we're going to add 8 to both sides. So we get x squared plus 10x plus 25 over 9 plus 8 equals y. So to get everything with a denominator of 9, I'm just going to multiply 8 by 9 over 9. So then we'll get x squared plus 10x plus 25 plus 72 over 9 equals y. So then I'm just going to combine, oops, I can't see that. So I'm just going to combine the 25 and the 72. So I'm going to get x squared plus 10x plus 97 over 9 equals y. So then last step is to change y to the inverse. So our original function was g. So we are finding g inverse of x. So I'm going to change y to g inverse of x. So your final answer should look like x squared plus 10x plus 97 over 9 equals g inverse of x. So then you can verify it in the calculator by checking to see if your x and y for the original function is switched in the second function. So if you input, hypothetically, so if you input a 0 and get back a 1 in your original function, then you should input a 1 and get back 0 in the inverse function. So x and y are switched. Alright, so now let's take a look at C. So we're still trying to find the inverse. So first step is to change z of x to y. So then we're going to switch x and y. So now we're going to solve for y. So we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. So x minus 6 equals the quantity y minus 4 squared. We're going to take the square root of both sides. So when we take the square root ourselves, it's always plus or minus. So then we get plus or minus square root of x minus 6 equals y minus 4. So then we are going to add 4 to both sides. So we're going to get 4 plus or minus the square root of x minus 6 equals y. So then our function was z of x. We're finding the inverse, so we're going to change y to z inverse of x. So 4 plus or minus the square root of x minus 6 equals z inverse of x. So that will be your final answer. So this concludes problems 2 and 3 on test 4 test review.